Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of Leading, Captivating Leadership Narratives, all part of the stuff that growth is made of. And today I'm excited to introduce you to TJ Oshun, CEO and founder of CallonDoc, and a member of my Vistage CEO peer advisory group here in New York City. TJ, I am a huge fan and in awe of your innovative mind and your purpose. I look forward to our conversation today. So
Absolutely.
welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Great. What I'd love to do is have you share with the audience an overview of who and what is CallonDoc.
Absolutely. CallonDoc is a telemedicine platform that connects patients and doctors. Essentially, we are a technology software platform. Um, we've been around since 2018, pre-COVID, and since then we've grown to be in about 48 states now. It was a local, medical practice in Dallas, but since then we've pivoted to telemedicine, so we can offer affordable care to patients throughout the U.S. So we have doctors in-house, and our patients love the platform as well. Easy to use platform, connects doctors real time to patients, offering it primarily family medicine, urgent care services. Patients that do need extended care are referred to urgent care or their local specialist. So if you need medical service in a timely manner, CallonDoc is the place to go.
What I love is, people are more familiar with telemedicine now since COVID, but you guys were really on the cutting edge. And I remember you telling me the story that you had to call the medical boards or whoever the greater organization is just to see what it is you could and couldn't do because telemedicine really wasn't something that was out there at the time when you started.
Absolutely. So, and the idea started around 2015, 16, when I was practicing medicine at a local clinic in Dallas, Texas. And this is way before COVID, as you can imagine. The idea of telemedicine or even virtual care was almost non-existent. Um, I wanted to, offer care to my patients outside of the regular 9 to 5 hours. There was no way to do it other than finding ways to reach them, in the comfort of their home. Looked online, looked for guidelines, called the medical board for guidelines. They didn't have anything to share with me. All they said was, as long as you're helping your patients and documenting your notes, that should be fine. It was a risk, but I took it. I had to add on to my liability insurance, but I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew I was saving patients. That motivated me and just kept me going. Started with my patients, that trusted me with their care anyway, and continued with that. I would check in. Matter of fact, I still have the email from the medical board saved that it was okay because I told them I'm not okay with a verbal okay. I need something in writing.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay to see a patient virtually. So I still have that email from 2016 today. And it cracks me up that telemedicine is mainstream now. So there weren't any guidelines. I actually had to sort of formulate the protocols and how to actually see patients and what conditions were acceptable. I developed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long way. It's been a good a journey so far.
What I also love, I think about as a working mom and whether I was sick or my kids were sick, it was, things closed, before I got home from work, and it was really challenging. And so I love that you identified also the need because some of your patients that you knew it was so important for them to have that follow on consultation or checkup just weren't getting to your office because they were working and they just, a typical clinic wasn't satisfying the ability to allow them to manage having to be at work, but also taking care of themselves.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it was shocking that my patients with diabetes or hypertension would not show up to the clinic for their prescription refill. I was like, there had to be something else going on. It's impossible for a patient with diabetes that I know needed this medication wouldn't show up. So I started doing this survey and research and just calling them to ask them why. I wanted to know why they didn't show up because it wasn't the office visit. They weren't short. So it wasn't the pay at all. So from my research, I realized it was because of the hours. Most clinics open 9 to 5 when people are actually at work. And urgent care wasn't as popular, or they weren't any need to go to an urgent care then, so they would miss the appointment. Then we adopted this, protocol or policy to actually give them a call and see them, while they're at work or when they get home from work. So I would stay late at work sometimes when my staff had gone home and just take phone calls and refill their medications electronically to the pharmacy. And that was the aha moment. I can reach more outside of Dallas, right? I can be in Houston. So my idea was going outside of Dallas and actually covering the whole of Texas. But then obviously the opportunity came to be in all 40, 50 states now. So it was just from the need and my desire to actually help patients that birth CallonDoc.
Yeah. I love and I love your purpose is really providing not just access but affordable care as well.
Absolutely, that's essential for me. The clinic was an Hispanic community is a community clinic. It's actually called DFW Community Medical Clinic. So that culture, it's still embedded in me to be able to provide affordable care. That's my goal, and we still have the same consultation fee from day one. We don't plan to increase our consultation fee, so it could be affordable and negligible. The goal is to make it affordable and accessible, and regardless of your ethnicity, background, or social ladder, we want you to have access to care. Yeah, so that's my goal, that's my drive, that's the mission of the company. Actually, you know, our motto is your doctor your way. That's our slogan, your doctor your way. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
Well, and also I think something that's probably a bit unique, I'm just writing that down. It's probably a bit unique is I know your doctors actually are full time. So, which is I think really important if you're going to provide um, really good care because there is an ongoing communication among your doctors with each other and what kind of care and making sure everyone's living the values of what you're trying to provide to your clients, to your patients.
absolutely, absolutely. Continuation of care is important in medicine. Quality assurance obviously is important in medicine, and patients also want to know their doctors. They don't want to see a doctor today and never, never know or see them again, because you want the doctor that actually knows your care and just
Yeah.
also hands off, right, from the doctor to the next doctor. It's important. So we adopted the policy of having our doctors full time. No, we don't have part-time doctors. We don't have gig doctors because of that continuation of care. It's really, really important, and it's been that way since day one. I understand medicine. I understand the roadblocks and what patients don't like in medical care. They don't like changing doctors, right? They will follow a doctor anywhere. So we understand that, and that's why most of our doctors have been with us, since day one, and and,
Wow.
and yes, they love it. They love the convenience of telemedicine, obviously, but they also love the impact that we're making. They literally can see the reviews. The patients are giving them. That kind of motivates them. You saved my life. I couldn't make it
Yeah.
to the ER. I was out of my medication on a Christmas, and you guys worked on Christmas to get my medication within 50 minutes. Oh my goodness. So that's a huge motivation for our doctors.
Yeah. I think that's great. And again, I think I know for me, typically I would think if I'm going to find a doctor, online, I would think if I'm calling somewhere, I may not get the same one or not be able to communicate to that person. But that sounds like that's different with your organization, which really does, make it a seamless um, relationship and communication.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
we invest so much in our technology and our team. So absolutely.
yeah,
Thanks for
that's great.
sharing. Yeah.
So, if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
That's a good question. I think it's essentially I'll say surround myself with like-minded people. You know, as you can imagine, when you're young, you just want to be, playful and sort of live this sort of careless life, which is part of growing up. But I think, that for me, it took me forever to understand the impact of being around positive and like-minded people. That sort of delayed my growth in a little bit, but I was able to pivot quickly, and sort of be around people that will motivate and be positive and understand the business of creating uh, a business or not necessarily even business, just anything that can actually be helpful. I didn't have that growing up. But yeah, that would be one thing I'll do, just being around more positive and like-minded individuals.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the challenges that you faced early in your leadership roles, as whether you worked for someone else or when you really started your own company as an entrepreneur?
Right. So yeah, there were multiple challenges as you can imagine. But the memorable one of the memorable one is starting with a partner that wasn't on the same page. When you have a partner, and this wasn't even with telemedicine, and it was just my previous companies or the clinic. Starting with a partner that wasn't on the same page with you can actually hold you back. So I'll say, to anyone, if you want to start a business, make sure it's structured properly. Right. So, it can be challenging when you have to make decisions and your partner is not on the same page. It will hinder the growth of the company. And specifically to telemedicine, I think it was just uncharted terrain where there weren't any guidelines. That was a limiting. You couldn't grow as fast as you want because you were afraid of liability or lawsuit because there weren't any really guidelines or policy. It
Yeah,
was after COVID that each state came with protocols and guidelines on how to see patients virtually. So that was very challenging and as you can imagine, it's limiting as well. Yeah, so those were the biggest challenges. Obviously, raising capital, and investing in a right team. But for the most part, it's just the landscape went friendly pre-COVID.
yeah, yeah. It is interesting just, going back, it is so important to figure out who the right partner is. And a lot of times people do something with a friend, and until you get into other difficult situations, or it's fun when things are going really well, but
Right.
sometimes you really don't know what that relationship is built on until there's a challenge.
Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah,
Totally. I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
And it's always good to go into business with friends and family, but it's still a business, so it has to be structured as such.
yeah,
That's my advice to anyone that wants to go into business with friends or family. Make sure it's structured. Make sure it's on paper. Bring a lawyer in because you don't want to ruin a relationship with a family and friend. Yes, I
yeah,
that's my number one advice.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. So, and you just mentioned a little bit about the pandemic. The last few years with the pandemic, post pandemic, it's been challenging for leaders and business owners, but some owners, and this from our own group, lost businesses during that time or lost a lot of revenue, but others benefited during that time, right? So it depends what kind of business you were in. So what were some of the lessons you learned or aha moments from the from COVID or even post COVID?
Right. It breaks my heart to hear the stories from CEOs or people that may have lost their job during the COVID. It breaks my heart. It's challenging. For us, on the other hand, it was a gift and a curse at the same time. In that, a gift, it brought awareness, right, to colon
Hmm.
telemedicine. We had to sell telemedicine pre-COVID, but as you know, during COVID, it became mainstream, popular, and everywhere. So that was a good thing. So we didn't have to sell, the utilization of telemedicine. And the curse was just that there were a lot of players in the game now. Competition blew up overnight. We were growing, I think about 100% month over month. The market share, you know, it was sliced. A lot of more competition in the game. So that was sort of like the curse that came with it. It was more expensive to market. It was a little challenging. But then, I saw that as an opportunity, that now I can actually focus on seeing patients and actually grow the practice, because now we have standard and protocol to abide by. The medical guidelines were there, the states add regulations, the things that were hindering me from growing were now more mainstream. So I wasn't so worried about competition. I just know if I stick to the core values and brand promises, we will be market leaders in no time.
I love that. It is interesting how for you the industry really did change. It's so interesting when you hear those stories, and maybe something you don't think about is, again, pre-COVID, who
Right.
would have? No one really heard about it, and so now there is much more acceptance. But it
Right.
comes with other challenges, you said too. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you for
Absolutely.
challenging that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I'll sit in a room, try to sell telemedicine and tell them it's the future. This is how it's gonna end. A lot of people that will push back that it's impossible to take care of patients online. It's almost impossible. Over reliance on technology is not the way to go, especially with medical care. And I'm like, if it's done correctly, we're not gonna cure cancer online, right? You're
Right,
not gonna treat or do surgery virtually, but there's certain conditions that can be managed virtually, and safe when it's done properly. So it's about finding that sweet spot and following the medical guideline as you can imagine, finding that
right,
that balance, right? That's where telemedicine is
right,
beneficial.
right. It's not in lieu of at times having to go to the doctor. It really just depends what it is that your issue and the reason to talk to someone. So yeah.
Right, right, and just to add to that, right? Even though we see mostly primary care, telemedicine is not necessarily just offering care. Some patients just want to be heard. Some patients just want to know, what do I do next? Where do I go? Is it time to go to the ER, or it's just wait at home for a couple of days until Monday? So telemedicine offers that. It's
Peace of
in
mind.
peace of
Right.
mind. In the past, if you're having a bit of cough, you run to the ER. Now you can talk to a doctor that can tell you, wait for a couple of days. It's not a heart attack, right? So that's
Yeah.
where telemedicine come in place. Lowering the cost of medicine, decongesting the ER, urgent care, even the primary care doctors, right? We work
Well,
hand in
and you
hand
know what?
with
Talking to someone's so important, because even, so many times, and we sometimes do it in our family, you look at, you go online and you look at WebMD and it's like, oh my God, it could be all these different things and you could drive yourself crazy. So knowing 24/7, you can call someone, you're right. It saves costs, not just for you, for, the whole medical profession. It's really trying to do the right thing and also give the patient a peace of mind. So I actually didn't think about that until you just said it, and it's so true, because again, you can Google these things now and drive yourself crazy.
crazy. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
yeah. So as we come into today, what would you say your biggest challenge and opportunity is right now?
Biggest challenge and opportunity. I would say it's still the biggest challenge would be the D2C market space. So there are a lot of new entries in the space. As I mentioned, telemedicine is becoming a commodity. Uh, Every clinics offer telemedicine in some capacity. So it's becoming mainstream, which is to me now an opportunity because now we've pivoted to offering telemedicine as a service, a software as a service. So we pivoted to our B2B um, option. So all these new players, we will offer them our software. Because as you know, doctors, just want to practice medicine. They don't want to deal with the headache of the back
Hmm.
end, front end billing. So we will come in, offer a white label platform for all these new entries. So we don't see this competition as a long-term competition. We see it as an opportunity, and just offer a platform. We've tested it. We know what works. We know what patients want. We know what doctors want. We're eliminating all the bottlenecks and offering a white label platform, empower them. And also that also will enable that doctor as a one person doctor to grow because we can now offer our doctors to help them grow, help
To
them with
supplement.
marketing. Right,
Yeah.
right. So help them with marketing and grow their platform. So that's the opportunity I see going forward, exploring the SaaS B2B options and not necessarily the D2C.
Also, a lot of our listeners are CEOs, business owners, and I know you and I've talked about this that you know uh, B2C, of course, is critical. So if I have an issue or someone in my family, be able to call your doctors, anytime, 24/7. But what, as a business owner, what a great benefit that you could offer your employees as well, especially some of the smaller companies that, healthcare, um, paying for insurance or things like that, especially if you don't have to by law. This would be a no-brainer option,
Right.
and can make a real difference in your employees' lives.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can imagine, the cost of medical insurance exploded. It's hard on small businesses so far, so to cover medical expenses or insurance for the employees, or even having to miss work. Uh, with telemedicine, we do offer, employer packages and employee packages as well, where we come in, offer the basic medical care for them, and especially if they can't afford the medical insurance. So we've been partnered with a lot of small businesses
Hmm.
to offer telemedicine to the employees.
Yeah. Again, it could be really a great benefit to offer and make a huge difference in their lives. So,
Absolutely.
how do you measure success as a leader, TJ?
Right. So a couple of things I look for is just meeting our core values. Being able to offer affordable. It's really really important for me. Affordable and easy access to medical care. And also, my team, making sure my team, anywhere from my junior staff to my leadership, to be able to work independently and trust the process. So, uh, measuring success is really about creating a process, an establishing process where anyone can actually step in, independent of myself or any particular person, and carry on that process. So if the company or the process can move forward and grow independent of myself or any particular person, I see that as a success, right? Where anyone can step in anytime and actually continue the legacy and the core values and brand promises that we've created.
Love that. That's a great a great nugget to take away. So thank you for sharing that.
So
So switching topics a little bit. I know you're an avid reader. We've talked about different books. We've read, others we both have read, others we haven't. What are you reading right now?
I am reading Great CEOs Are Lazy. Right. It's technically about, even though it's saying CEOs are lazy, it's technically about delegating and mastering, and the science of delegating is actually a science. It's not just passing the buck to someone else and go relax. Is a system where you are in a player mode in certain times and participating and actually building and building your team and empowering them and actually following up, with the delegation and trusting them, and trusting your team really. And one thing that actually struck me, because it was very hard for me to delegate, because I was afraid of, performance or not hitting the milestone. But what I learned from the book was if you can get 80% out of your team, that's actually success. It is not going to be the same as you, right? They're
Right.
not going to meet the same standard, but if they can meet 80% of your expectation, that's success. So when I realized that all they had to do was not, replicate myself, because I would tell my wife I need someone to I need to replicate myself, right? But it was impossible. So as long as my team can deliver 80%, that to me is a success. So that's what I got from the book. And just
Y-
going back to books, right? Let me just
Uh-huh.
right. I'm not a big Grant Cardone fan, but one of my first books starting out, I think it was about 6, 7 years ago, was Millionaire Booklet, How to Be Super Rich. It's a 44-page book. This is before I even I think it was around this time I started CallonDoc. I was halfway into the book. I abandoned the book and I'm like, I'm starting a business and I know I'm going to be successful. It broke it down. I think everyone should read that book. It's a 44 page. I think I only read like 20 page. I was so motivated. I haven't finished the book till today. And even though
I'll
yeah,
have to get that. That's
right, you have
interesting.
to. It
Yeah.
tells you how to build a business, breaks it down, and how to, make a business successful. Right. So I encourage
Oh,
it.
I'll have to look at that. Thank you for sharing that. This delegation thing, I just want to comment on that. It is so important, especially um, for leaders who want to scale their business, because you become the bottleneck if you don't figure out how to delegate and delegate well. And you won't be able to scale. I mean, again, there's different stages that you go from startup, which of course you're very involved. But as you continue to scale, delegation is really critical, and making sure, of course, you have the right people in the right seats doing the right things. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but I just wanted to comment on what
Yeah,
you
it's
mentioned.
if you want
Yeah,
to scale, you have to delegate. You have to take
yeah,
off the player hat and wear it when it's absolutely necessary, and just trust your team. Trust your team; they will deliver. You will know soon who is the key player in your team and who to trust. But it's about building a team and trusting them so you can
yeah.
stay. Like I said, building the processes and procedures, and just have your team implement. Yeah.
And, I know we just had our meeting earlier this week and we had this phenomenal speaker. And I think also so important to delegating is making sure people understand the purpose and you have a shared vision of what you want that outcome to be. So there's some things that go into that, but I agree.
Yes.
So, well, great. So, in closing, would love to hear TJ. What would you say some of the critical success factors or secret sauce is to being an effective leader today, from your perspective?
Right. For me personally, I think staying involved, it's really key, and just participate and where the player more and a player had from time to time to learn how your team uh, are sort of thriving. Be involved, be engaged. It's really really important. Your team needs you to be there. They want someone to hear them, feel their pain, you know, go to work one day wearing the apron and just know what a day today is for your team. It keeps you engaged. It makes you understand the pain and the struggle. I still read reviews, from my patients. I know exactly what a bottleneck is. So I'm still actively involved, not necessarily in the day to day, but I wear my player hat from time to time just to understand the process and actually reinvent the process if need be. So I encourage everyone to be involved and participate in the process.
That's great advice. So, one last question: how would our viewers find your company?
Absolutely. So, essentially we online, we are on online platforms. So if you go to www.callondoc.com, or you can download the app, CallonDoc, CallonDoc, like you're calling a doc. So CallonDoc.com, we are online. And if you want medical service or talk to a doctor, anytime, 24/7, even on holidays, we're available. Kudos to the doctors and my team that are able to deliver care, year round. So anytime you need medical services, you can always visit us online.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your thoughtful insights around the art of leading, which you do very well. So thank you all for listening. This is the stuff that growth is made of. Until next time.